What's up, guys? It's your boy RJ Game News USA here, back today with another video. I'm here repping Tom Brady celebrating his 7th Super Bowl on this t-shirt. But besides that, I want to talk about this Brendan Sorsby story. So if you like this kind of content, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me jump right into it. So for those of you who don't know, Brendan Sorsby is a highly touted potential draft pick in the NFL for 2027. He recently has transferred from Cincinnati to Texas Tech to go play college football there. And he's kind of a big deal, right? Well, then we come to find out that there's a massive story of him gambling. And as we know in all of sports, a big red line is not to gamble. And apparently he did gamble on games involving his own team, games he was not playing in, and it was just the tip of the iceberg. This young man has a gambling addiction, or had a gambling addiction, depending which narrative you want to believe, where he has spent over $90,000 gambling. And he even sought help 35 days at an institution to get it right. Now, the NCAA laid the hammer down on this kid, as they should, when they said that he was suspended for the year. However, a judge from Lubbock, Texas, the same place that Texas Tech has their campus at, where he's going to school, has overruled the NCAA suspension, instead reducing it down to 2 games. And those 2 games are against some cupcake opponents. I believe Appalachian State and Oregon State. Pretty cupcake opponents that he'll miss out on. Texas Tech, of course, has ambitions to potentially win the Big 12, get into the college football playoff, and win the national title. Brendan Sorsby has aspirations to potentially be a Heisman winner and maybe even the number 1 draft pick in the 2027 NFL draft, depending how well he plays, if he has a stellar season. So there was a lot on the line here. The first judge originally had to recuse himself because he was a Texas Tech fan and voluntarily recused himself, as you should do. However, a second judge came in and ruled in favor of him anyway. The defense lawyer arguing that Brendan Sorsby actually would have a mental problem if he were not able to participate in practice and in games with his teammates. And the judge bought it hook, line, and sinker, which I think is a very weak argument. Now, the idea here is that Brendan Sorsby is going to be a spokesperson that comes out against gambling in sports. But again, I feel like he lost very little to nothing of what he should lost for doing something so heinous. Gambling on sports and what you're participating in is especially bad. It's obviously resulted in stuff like Pete Rose being banned from baseball when he was. It's obviously resulted in NFL players getting 1-year suspensions. And it is considered a huge red line. And considering the NBA also had a huge gambling scandal recently, the fallout of which still has to come out, it can destroy a sport. And college football is already a sport that is changing so fast, so soon, in so many ways, that this could potentially be harmful. This is unprecedented, and Big 12 athletic directors are saying that the soul of the sport has been lost. On the flip side, it is going to be nice to see him play, and he is going to be great for Texas Tech, and that'll be a huge storyline going forward. However, I do think it's wrong. I do think the NCAA suspension should have held up. I do think he should have been gone for the year. And I think it speaks to a larger problem in college football, and that is a lack of a governing body with actual authority. The NCAA president is going to, and already has, appealed, hoping Congress can step in and do a Save the College Football Act. Well, to be quite frank, sir, number 1, we have bigger issues in the world that need addressed first. Mostly ranging everything from making sure our freedoms are intact, to stopping AI data centers, to addressing wealth inequality, to healthcare for all, to ending foreign wars that we have no business being a part of. Sorry, saving college football should be more towards the bottom of the list of Congress's to-do list. That being said, never put your faith in Congress to do anything good for you anyway. So I doubt they will either. You're going to need to get the big schools together, the big conferences together with the TV networks, and really make a cohesive league. A cohesive set of universal rules that we could all follow. And really treat conferences more like divisions of your sport. You really got to break down those barriers a little bit. And we need to have more regional representation for each conference, to be completely honest. Now, I know the SEC and Big Ten may be resistant to some of these changes, but I believe putting somebody like Nick Saban in charge would be a big help, who's come out with some ideas of his own that are good. But if I were the president of college sports today for football, there's a lot of changes I would make. A lot of common sense changes that I think would definitely help the sport. For one thing, I would say the first change that should happen is some of these teams need to get kicked back to AA. We got too many schools and too many conferences and too many teams in each conference. And they should be more regional. And I believe we could have a much better college football playoff. So, how I would address this, first with the gambling, 1-year suspensions need to remain intact. That's obvious. And Brendan Sorsby should be expelled. Eligibility is a big issue. You got guys who are 25 years old playing against 18-year-olds with 7-year eligibility somehow. That needs to go away. I think 5 years total eligibility makes sense. 1 red shirt. You might, you burn it. You burn it when you transfer. You burn it when you get into a game. Some redshirt freshmen don't play at all and they save their red shirt. You burn it when you get into a game. That used to be the rule if you got into a game when you're supposed to be redshirted. And you can burn it to cover a year of injury. That's it. You burn it for a transfer, burn it for injury, or burn it for sitting out your freshman year. That's it. So, that being said, we got to limit the transfer portal too. 1 transfer. You get 1. 1 transfer in the transfer portal. Make it count. You could do it any time after your freshman year, sophomore year. You have to change the cycle at which coaches can be hired. I didn't like what happened with Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss while they were in the midst of a playoff run. Do not allow coaches to be hired, refired until after the complete season has been completed. Don't let early high school recruiting or anything like that happen until after the full season has been completed, including the playoffs. And then speaking of the playoffs, I'm in favor of 24 teams. And I think the way to go about that is it's your college football top 25. But it's just your top 24 are in, your 25th team is out, get rid of the bowl games. And make sure that playoff games are at home field locations, no neutral site bullshit, except for the championship game. And in this 24-team playoff, the top 8 get byes, obviously. So there's incentive there to go get a bye. And then when it comes to conferences, to be clear, I think no more than 10 teams per conference. And I think you need to bring back conferences like the Big East and the Pac-10. And rename the Big 12 the Southwest Conference. Then you'll have the Southwest Conference, the Pac-10, the Big East, the ACC. Well, the Big 10, the Pac-10, the ACC, the Big East, the SEC, the Pac-10. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me try that again. The Pac-10, the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC, the Big East, the Southwest Conference, and, sorry I keep fucking up this part so much. The Big 10, the Pac-10, the ACC, the SEC, the Big East, the Big 10. Oh, fuck this part of the video. You guys get what I'm saying. Okay? And the Mountain West and the WAC and, your traditional conferences or whatever. You probably have like 12 conferences, okay? No conference championship. You play everybody in your conference at least once. I mean, you should play them once. You have 9 conference games. It's uniform across the board. 12-game schedule. The other 3 games are scheduled by the NCAA on a rotating basis. Like if you're third in the SEC, you might play the third-place team in the ACC this year. And then it flips and rotates, like the NFL schedule does, based on where you finish in your conference. And then, like I said, your top 24 just get into the playoffs. You get rid of Army-Navy gets moved back into the regular rivalry week. You get rid of conference championships, and you start the first round of the playoffs where those would be. And then you have your second round, your third round, and so on and so forth until you get to the championship game. It's really that simple. But alas, it's a wish list because bigger conferences don't want to give up their power. Local jurisdictions don't want to give up their power. And the only one that's left looking feeble with no power at all is the NCAA themselves. And this Sorsby story is just the last nail in the coffin of any sort of power or sovereignty the NCAA has. They really don't. They're left up to the whims or whatever. When we really do need universal rules on gambling, universal name and likeness, we need rules on conference size and amount of, and who's in the conferences and who plays who on the schedule, and we need the proper rules on the playoff and how it's set up, and we need to get rid of bowl games, we need to modernize the game in those ways, we need better safety rules, we need a whole bunch of stuff that isn't there, that needs to be there, and yet, here we are, still in the same place we've been. And so, again, that's my take on the story. I'm disgusted with what's happened with the Brandon Sorsby situation, and I hope you guys are too. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Should Brendan Sorsby be able to play this year? And if so, let me know why. And if not, let me know why. But until next time, this is RJ signing out. Have a good one.